Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ink and Paint, and happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Today's Valentine's Day, and we are here tonight bringing you our conversation about best Disney dates. And I think just kind of the idea of dating in Disney in general, and how that where you like to go in the parks, what you like to do. How do you maybe go on a date in Disney with somebody who's not a Disney person? So we're going to talk about all those crazy things. And by all means, we strongly encourage your comments, your stories in the chat. We love to interact with you guys, and especially around things like this. If you have some like awesome date stories or date spots in Disney, if you have crazy, like, disastrous date stories, we want to hear those too. So drop all your comments in the chat. I am joined here tonight by my illustrious panel of lovely ladies. I am here with my co-host, Ashley Jasmer.
Hey, everyone.
Then we also have joining us tonight Disney Desi.
Happy Valentine's Day.
And Shannon.
Hey all, happy Valentine's Day, Galentine's Day, or just Monday night with ink and paint.
Or just Monday night with ink and paint. I love that. All right, so kind of the conversation, I want to kind of take a step back and start at the big picture, which is Disney World a good place for a date? And I'm curious, especially kind of what your guys' stories are. You all have fellas in your lives that I think you've all been to Disney with. So kind of how does that work for you? Is Disney a good place for a date or a romantic night out? Ashley, if you want to start us off.
Sure. I think it definitely can be. Obviously, there's no shortage of great restaurants, and I'm sure we'll touch on some of those that can be romantic in their own way. I kind of like to do things, though, that you can't necessarily do anywhere else. Like, my idea of like a good Disney date night would be, for instance, I love walking around Animal Kingdom in the evening and at night. Just watch, all lit up and Tree of Life Awakenings, maybe with a cocktail and just talking with my husband. Those are some of our favorite things to do is things like that. Or I saw somebody in the chat, having Dole Whip on the beach at the Poly is another great one with fireworks and electrical water pageant. Those types of experiences to me are probably the Disney romantic, I guess, is the best way to put it. Because, I can go to nice restaurants anywhere. Not to say that Disney restaurants aren't great, but if I want something more Disney, that to me is what kind of sets it apart.
Yeah, for sure. I think like the Disney aspect of it, there are nicer restaurants generally than what you can find in Disney. If what you're after is food or ambiance, I think, you've always got that factor that there are going to be lots of families around and little kids. Disney is full of kids. So sometimes that can be like distracting or loud or whatever. So I think you've kind of got to want the Disney aspect of it to want to do a date somewhere in the parks. How about you, Desi?
So for me, because I have kids and they're pretty small, they can't go on any of the big rides. My husband and I have just taken a random day off of work in the middle of the week while the kids are in school and gone to the parks. And we like going to Hollywood Studios on those days because those are where a lot of those big rides are that we can't do with the kids. Like we can't go on Rise or Tower or Star Tours even with the kids. So that's just something that we have done before, where we just take a day date to go spend some quality time with just the two of us that we hardly ever get to do. And doing the things that we want to do and not just
right.
Having to do what the kids want to do.
Yeah, there's certainly an element to that of when you're with kids in Disney, whether it's, supposed to be kind of quality time together or not, it's always the kids kind of wind up directing. And especially when your kids can't do some of the things that you want to be able to do because they're too small. How about you, Shannon?
Yeah, Well, I'm laughing, first of all, because of Chief Leaf's comment about the country bears being very romantic and about relationships. And it's certainly about relationships. Maybe not in the
That
best way, but
Grocery.
love of it.
Yeah.
But being married to someone who can appreciate Walt Disney World, but is not a Disney fan and doesn't want to do the Disney things, I actually do lean more towards to the restaurants and the bars and the other activities. My husband loves to fish, loves to golf, any kind of outdoor activity like that. And there are plenty of those on the parks and not just one. You usually have multiple options. So when we do dates at Disney World, we probably do them a little different than the average person. We don't watch fireworks together and get teary-eyed, although that's nice for some people to enjoy. But for us, we like nice drinks, nice food, and then a little bit of exercise during the day to get off some of those calories.
That's cool. We'll talk a little bit more about kind of all of those things, I think, in detail. I want to do sort of the whole rundown of all the different things there are to do at Disney that are fun and or romantic or just really good activities to do with a date. But shout out to Stephen Crawford. This is a great comment. He gave us a super chat. We learned Simba row 128 can be very romantic thanks to the last WDWNT episode. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I'm not sure that I think Country Bears is the most romantic attraction on the planet, but let's start with that. Let's start with attractions. Desi, you like doing kind of those thrill rides because you can't do them with your kids.
Yep.
Is it like Tower and Rise? Are those your favorites? What are some of your favorites?
I mean, for me personally, yes. Rise is probably between Rise and Flight of Passage are like my top two favorite rides. And so it's nice to be able to do that with my husband there next to me, as opposed to one of us has to wait in line while the other one is standing with the stroller or, trying to do something and then do the rider swap. So it's just nice to be able to experience it with him as opposed to one at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Ashley? Any couples rides favorites?
Oh gosh. This is gonna sound bad. I don't know. I don't like, don't get me wrong, like I like rides. I like riding with my husband, but again, like that's not, and again, I'm sure it'll change here in a few years. I mean, Desi has a very valid point about, with the kids, and now that we have Audrey, I'm sure maybe that will change because I've always been spoiled that I can ride with my husband. And obviously, we've been fortunate lately that we've gone with my family who could watch her when we want to ride something, but I'm sure the day will come when that's not always a possibility. So, but yeah, I would think I like People Mover. I do enjoy riding People Mover with my husband, just kind of sitting there and relaxing with him. But so yeah, I think that would probably be the one.
Shannon, any favorites?
Anything that's a thrill ride, because those are the ones he appreciates. I know definitely not Winnie the Pooh, because one night at a very crowded Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party, my husband was not having the crowds. And I made him go on Pooh, and he was just like, what are we doing on this ride? So I had to send him back to the hotel after that. But yeah, but he genuinely enjoys any of Rock and Roller Coaster, Rise, Test Track, so anything that's fun and adventurous.
Oh,
my husband feels the same way about Runaway Railway, where it's what is happening, what's going on this ride.
Quick story about Runaway Railway. I was at Studios. I went like after work one night last week, just to kind of go. I hadn't been there in a while, and I like going to the parks. Like I go at like 6 o'clock at night, and then from like 6 to 9, the crowds sort of die out, especially on weeknights. And so it's a good time to jump on a few rides. I hadn't been on Tower in ages, so I wanted to go on Tower. And the line for Runaway Railway was really short, like a 15-minute wait, like right at the end of the night. And so I jumped on, and the ride, we had an issue with the lap bar in the ride, so they had to get us off and then put us back on. And the cast member said, "We'll be happy to let you ride again when you come through, like because of the delay, etc. Like we're really sorry." And they were gonna let us re-ride. We get off the ride at the end. She was like, "Do you want to ride again?" And we were like, "No, I think we're good." Like once on Runaway Railway was enough. I don't think I need another time. Yeah. Another shout out to Stephen Crawford. Another romantic spot was Holiday Hill at Disneyland before the Matterhorn was built. You could say that spot was always meant to give people thrills. Okay, I'm gonna question whether people know what was in Disneyland before the Matterhorn was built, but there's always something interesting. There's always something interesting about that. My favorite, so like I like the quiet, dark ride. Like you can kind of snuggle up and put your arm around the other person and just kind of like cuddle up together. So probably one of my favorites is Navi River Journey. Like I just think Navi River Journey is so quiet and peaceful and calm and relaxing, and it's just like such a nice kind of like sweet little romantic boat ride. I'm a big fan of Spaceship Earth because, it's quiet and dark. And especially if you're there with another Disney nerd, like you're kind of really enjoying what Spaceship Earth is together. I like, obviously, Haunted Mansion, I think, is probably one of the more popular rides for couples to ride together because you get a lot of privacy.
Ask one.
Ron Ziano will tell stories about when he used to be a cast member and work Haunted Mansion. And then one of my favorite things to do, and this is hard to pull off, but if you can get on Mine Train, speaking of the thrill rides, during like when the fireworks are going, there's like something so stunning about like you're coming out of the mountain and the fireworks are like exploding right above you. I love that. That makes me really happy. So those are some of my favorites, but yeah, I think I'd put Navi at the top of my list of like romantic Disney rides. I just really love that one.
Really?
Does the monorail count?
I was gonna put talk about the monorail and the Skyliner, like kind of in the like other category, but we can talk
we'll
about
get there.
Now. I think, yeah, they're certainly good, especially like you get those nights where there is nobody on the monorail and you kind of can snuggle up alone. That's nice too. Chief Leaf says, I think Mansion is romantic too, especially with Constance. Yeah, she's the most like best sort of role model for a couple, but what are you gonna do? So moving on from attractions, I think what about lounges? Are there good date lounges at Disney? And I know we've had like our whole entire show talking about favorite Disney lounges, but if you're going for like a quiet romantic drink with a date, what are your top picks there?
I really like Tambu Lounge for a nice date spot. And Nomad Lounge is also always a favorite because they have the couches and the beautiful scenery. If you sit on the outside.
I love like you get those two big high back chairs out on the deck next to each other. And I just, that's another one of those spots that's like, so you can just sort of people watch and it's kind of quiet and removed from the rest of the park and you can just sort of sit back and enjoy, and like it's easy to have a conversation because it's not too loud and you can just kind of enjoy each other's company. Any other favorites?
Well, I wanted to mention about Nomad first because back in November when we went, my sister was pregnant and she was kind of bummed out the whole trip, wasn't like feeling too well. So we went to Nomad and we had the most enjoyable time. I mean, I was kind of third wheeling with her and my brother-in-law, but we got to sit outside and she got to have her own like press pot of coffee, which is like, okay, nowadays for pregnant people, just in case anyone judges, it's okay to have some coffee. And it was just such an enjoyable, relaxing, peaceful spot. But for, a romantic couple, I love the tucked away spots that don't even feel very Disney. And my top picks would be Territory Lounge at the Wilderness
Oh,
That's
Lodge.
a good one.
And yeah, and similarly, Cruise Cup at Yacht Club. They're like these cozy atmospheres
Oh yeah,
that
we love the
really
yacht
make you
club too.
feel removed. Yeah, and great spots if you haven't been there, and they're good for drinks and just snacks and noshing.
yeah, I love Cruise Cup is on my list too because it's just such a great little atmosphere and it's cozy and usually not super busy. The people that are coming in there are coming in there just to chill out. Like I think it's one of those spots. I think Martha's Vineyard's got a little bit of that too. The other one that's on my list is Enchanted Rose. And I know there are parts of Enchanted Rose, like if you walk into the main bar area, it can be super loud in there. But if you go off to, there's the room on the right that's, I don't know if they have a name for it. I just call it the green room. Um, there are some sort of quieter, like couch type spots and upholstered chairs that you can sit on together and just kind of have a quiet drink together, and that's nice, especially when it's not too crowded.
Yeah, and
Shout out to
although I
Rosita. Oh, sorry. I just want to shout out
no,
Rosita.
that's okay. Go for it.
Back in high school days, the Skyline to Tomorrowland to Adventure once in the air.
Oh,
Well, the Sky High Club. Very nice.
Oh,
Um,
I'm pretty sure people do that with the Skyliner right now.
yeah,
yeah.
oh,
yeah.
probably.
I'm pretty sure they do, but that was definitely the Skyway buckets were a good. I mean, I was a kid when the Skyway buckets were around, so I didn't really have any date experiences, but I can imagine. Yeah, but I would
In
say
part two, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I might put Enchanted, and I just like the vibe at Enchanted Rose. It feels like kind of, I don't know, sophisticated, like you're in some fancy French estate having drinks together, and you can look out over the water towards the Magic Kingdom, towards the Polynesian. It's a nice view.
I also like the Brown Derby Lounge, just because, when we take our random day dates without the kids, we go to Hollywood Studios. So that's another fun date spot.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I would put, so we can move on to talking about restaurants because I think this is probably the one that like you think about the most. You go on a date, you go out to a nice dinner together, and I definitely put Brown Derby on my restaurant list. But I think some of my favorite might be Topolino. I tend to lean towards the rooftop restaurants because I like that ability to go out. And even though Topolino doesn't have a Magic Kingdom fireworks view, um, you can still see so much of the parks from there. You can if there were fireworks at studios, you'd be able to see them. There's kind of not really a whole lot in that department right now, but I just like the atmosphere there. It's very posh feeling, and then you can go out on that rooftop deck and just kind of look at the Disney skyline. You can see the Skyliner from there too, and just sort of enjoy yourself and take your drink out there if you want to before dinner while you're waiting for your meal, and just kind of enjoy the views.
Yeah, for the same reason, we also like Toledo because
Mm-hmm.
it's got the rooftop view and you can see the fireworks and all of that. I haven't been to
Yeah.
Topolino, so I can't compare food-wise.
I haven't been there yet either.
Topolino is also great because every time I've been, no one is ever sitting in the outdoor area, and it's gorgeous. They have string
Mhm.
lights, beautiful patio furniture.
Mhm.
So it's a definite recommendation. My biggest recommendation, I almost feel like it's cliche in the Disney fandom, but it's California Grill, but timing it with sunset. So even when I had to book my reservations 180 days out, I would just go on the Weather Channel app to the week I was going to be there, and okay, sunset's going to be at 7 o'clock, so I'd make my reservation for around 6:30, and it's absolutely breathtaking unless you get rain, but I've been lucky a bunch of times and it's spectacular.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Cali Grill.
Yeah. But I like that you said not, because I feel like the cliche would be at fireworks. Sunset would be. I've never done it at sunset, but that would be good for a date, I think.
So one of the things I would recommend at Cali, and like I get it, like if you're at Cali Grill and the fireworks are going off, you kind of want to go out and watch the fireworks. But um, the flip side of it is everyone else goes out and watches the fireworks. So if you actually don't do that and stay at your table, you can kind of have this really chill, like almost by yourself experience in Cali Grill while everyone else is watching fireworks. And you can still see them from the windows, especially if your table is well positioned. But you can kind of have this other kind of experience where everyone else is out watching fireworks and you're just kind of sitting there and you feel like you're in your own little bubble. The other choice I want to throw out there, and this may be like a little anathema because we're talking about Disney, although technically it's on Disney property. I want to give a huge recommendation to Kappa at the Four Seasons, which technically on Disney property, they have a rooftop deck. And honestly, like I know people are like, oh, it's a steakhouse at the Four Seasons, but it's not really that much more expensive than going to some of these higher end, like especially right now with Cali Grill with the price fix menu. That's the only option you have. They're doing the 50th price fix meal. You'll probably spend less at Kappa than you would at California Grill. And it's just, they have a really great wine selection. They have steaks. They have an amazing charcuterie board. You can get raw oysters. Like there are so many, and the vibe is much more intimate because you're not actually like at a Disney restaurant. And then they have the fireworks outside. The view's a little bit far, but you can still like go out there and watch the fireworks and have that experience if you want to, without it quite feeling so Disney, but you're still in Disney. So that's like one of my favorites.
It's on my bucket list.
Should definitely do it. Other good date restaurants, in my opinion, are Le Cellier. It's because you've got that nice kind of like chill, like cellar kind of vibe, but you still get really good steaks. I love Flying Fish, which just reopened a couple weeks ago, and I'm excited because I'm going this week. I haven't been there. I've been like dying for it to reopen since COVID, and so it's finally reopened, and I get to go check it out this week. But they have fantastic food and a really great wine list as well. And again, that is a Disney restaurant, but it doesn't feel quite as, I think even when you're at California Grill, there's a lot, because it's like this bigger open dining room. There's a lot of kids running around sometimes. I think Flying Fish feels a little bit more grown up and intimate than some of the other Disney restaurants. And then I'd also put Haleo and Wine Bar George on the list. Although it's a little harder. Those feel, again, kind of big and loud sometimes, but the food is really good. And if that's what you enjoy, they're definite recommendations from me.
I would put Morimoto on that list too.
Oh, yeah. Morimoto's a good one.
Rosita, and I have to agree. Yeah, Rosita said, and I'd have to agree, House is another great one too.
Yeah.
Of course, I feel like really Disney Springs in general, even though, what was the one on the list, Jill? The Edison?
The Edison.
I question that.
Yeah.
Of all of the restaurants at Disney Springs, that one apparently made a romantic dinner list.
Yeah, I was like looking around at what other people say are like romantic Disney date spots, and somebody, like one of the lists had the Edison in like their top 5. And I thought that was just such an odd choice because the Edison at dinner time tends to be like a lot more funky and loud. And like, if that's your vibe, that's fine. But it just like, it definitely doesn't feel romantic to me at all.
I actually went to the Edison the night of my wedding. That was like the after party, like not a like legit after party, but we just rolled in there, and it was my first time going. And honestly, it was bizarre. I got fully wanded, like in my dress, when I had to enter. And it was like this club atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
I mean, it was so much fun, but like, I don't think I'd really go back there.
Yeah.
You wouldn't call it a romantic date spot?
Yeah.
Definitely not.
I mean, it depends on what you're looking for in a date. If you want to just have a fun date, then there's different options. Like I would, if I was just going on like a fun date, might consider that, or Jock Lindsay's,
Mhm.
just like to have fun versus being romantic.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think,
Yeah.
and
I
especially,
agree with
yeah,
that.
Jocks can be fun. Like they have great cocktails. It's a really cool vibe. And I can see that being like, if you don't want super romantic, like maybe that's a good first date spot where like
Right.
you don't necessarily want to be super romantic and there's a ton of stuff there to have a conversation about. So it kind of gives you a lot to, you know, keep the conversation going with somebody you just met. Rosita said, I hear Enzo's the underground cave restaurant. So that's Enzo's Hideaway, which is kind of like you've got to go down these stairs, and it's themed after Prohibition era rum runner tunnels. And that's actually like a pretty nice place as well. I know some people don't love
It
it.
is.
I've always had really good food there. They also have a great charcuterie board. And it tends to be a little bit quieter, I think, because it's off the beaten path and people have a harder time finding it. So it kind of stays
Mhm.
tucked away. Stephen Crawford says Lamplight Lounge at Disney California Adventure is a great spot. Sitting dockside during sunset is heavenly.
So if we're talking about California, I don't remember the name of the restaurant, but there was one place that I went to that was in DCA that was super romantic. We went there for our anniversary one year before kids. It kind of
The
reminded me of the
Italian place?
Brown Derby feel. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? It's in
Like the
DCA.
Carthay?
It's like
terrace?
Oh no, Carthay's in
Carthay.
Disneyland.
Yes.
Was it Carthay? Yeah,
Yeah. I thought Carthay was a really nice date spot.
it is.
And Steakhouse 55 Lounge, rest in peace.
Tony Stank says, I used to play in a band called Bathtub Gin, just saying prohibition and all. I've actually been to a speakeasy in New York called Bathtub Gin, where they had a copper bathtub in the middle of the room that I might have ended up in by the end of the night. That wasn't a date night, no. That was just out with my girlfriends.
I would agree with Rosita that for a fun date, the sci-fi would be a good spot too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's definitely plenty to kind of keep the conversation going and laugh about in there. I love watching all those old movies. David said Citricos is a nice spot for dinner. Dawn also says Citricos. She did that for her anniversary one year. Chief says Blue Bayou is crazy romantic.
Oh, yeah, that's where John and I went on our wedding night, was Blue Bayou.
Really?
Oh.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because we had an afternoon wedding, so we ditched everybody and then we watched Fantasmic, which was cute. But if you are a Walt Disney World person, I wouldn't qualify Fantasmic, the show itself, I would qualify as romantic in Disneyland. The experience of trying to watch the show and get to the Rivers of America, not a romantic experience. That will kill the romance in about 3.5 seconds.
Yeah,
But
I've actually never seen Fantasmic at Disneyland, but at Disney World, I can just like imagine having to get out of Fantasmic
it's
is
a
such a
crowd
nightmare.
control. Like
Yeah.
like this is completely off topic, but they completely set up like benches and make like one-way directional pathways, basically like all through Adventureland and parts of New Orleans Square and Frontierland to move people. And once you are kind of like stuck into one of those, you have no choice but to like follow the crowd. Like you are herded like cattle, one direction or the other. So no, it's not.
Yeah. There's nothing
It's a
romantic
great show.
about
I
being
like
hurt.
it. Yeah.
But speaking of shows, so like what about that? What about like are you guys into fireworks? So to me, like watching the fireworks with somebody is like I like so top of my list. And again, I think it sort of needs to be like a little bit of a Disney person. I think there's so much to me about like loving the fireworks is loving the Disney aspect of the fireworks and the music and the castle, especially. I don't know that I think Harmonious, especially, is particularly romantic, but I love, and for what it's worth, I think Enchantment is not anywhere near as good in that respect as Happily Ever After was, or Wishes for that matter. But I think there's something so like wonderful and lovely about like just standing there with somebody and watching the fireworks together.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I would pretty much agree with that assessment. Like if I was going to rank romance factors as far as fireworks shows, it would definitely probably be Wishes, Happily, and then Enchantment. Because Enchantment to me is, as far as a fireworks show, it's garbage. It's a projection show. Let's be like, I saw it for the first time in person. I watched more of the castle than of the fireworks, which is a shame. But, and I even think other shows can be, like World of Color, at least the original one, which was the only one that I really got a chance to see, was really, I would qualify as, like a fun romantic date. And again, Fantasmic, as long as you ignore the crowd control issue, was great. But yeah, any show I think really, I mean, again, it's a shame to say, but apart from the two new ones, can be pretty romantic and fun to watch together, especially if it is another Disney fan.
Yeah.
I think
Desi, is that your
back
thing?
row of the Hall of Presidents, or or Carousel Progress are all great options as well.
Oh, very nice. Very
nice. Yeah, not for me. I mean, I was going to say not in terms of like a couple thing. I enjoy, not just because my husband's not a Disney person, but I genuinely enjoy watching the fireworks by myself because it's just profound personally. Like it touches me so much. I'm like, I just want to have that moment of like feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay to enjoy it by yourself.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Alexandra
like even...
brought up.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, even watching, like if I'm at the park with a big group of people, I still kind of like, I will kind of go off by myself a little bit and like, take a couple of steps to the side just to have that like private fireworks moment. So I totally get that. There's definitely something, mainly because I tend to cry like a good percentage of the time I watch the fireworks. So, I kind of like to do that by myself unless I'm with somebody that I want to share that with.
Yeah.
Alexandra said the Osborne Lights used to be the best date spot. And if you were to ask me like the most romantic, I mean, other than like our wedding or something like that, time that I've had with my husband, at least the most romantic time at the parks, it was going to the Osborne Lights and just like listening to the music and like just dancing and spinning around like crazy people in the streets. That was probably the most romantic time we've ever had.
Oh, that's so fun.
And the snow, and yeah.
Kevin, our fellow WDWNT staffer, Kevin, is in the chat saying the lights on Spaceship Earth are touching, like in an emotional way. If you are a Muppets fan, I think we have a pretty awesome video of the new Rainbow Connection show. I don't know if show is the right word.
I cried.
That they're doing on Spaceship Earth. That is pretty stellar. Courtesy of Kevin.
That one song and just lighting up Spaceship Earth is more romantic than the entire Enchantment fireworks display.
It is. It's true.
It's true. It's absolutely true.
It's certainly better than Harmonious. So I really like especially I love that, and just in terms of spots, the whole entry area into Epcot now at night, where you've got the lights on Spaceship Earth and you've got the racing lights around kind of the inside walls of the area. Like you've got the new new fountain that's lit up. It's gorgeous. Like it's just such a picturesque spot.
It really is.
Oh, Kevin
I
says he's
think
not
we'd
sharing. It's Valentine's Day,
think we'd
Kevin.
be,
It's a time for sharing. It's a time for love and sharing.
Come on.
We'd be remiss to not mention World Showcase in general as like
Yes.
a romantic thing to do as a couple.
Yes.
Um,
I totally agree.
Because with even though my husband doesn't love Disney, he I think that's his favorite part of Disney is World Showcase and just trying all the different food and drink and chilling and moving at whatever snail's pace you want to move at and enjoying the, view.
And there's always
the
a festival and always something new to try.
Yeah. The one thing that like if you wind up there on like a really crowded night, it can be a little bit rough just because it can get really packed through World Showcase. And just trying to get around can sometimes be hard. But if you're there on kind of a quieter night and it's warm out in the Florida evenings and you've got all the lights on and all the pavilions, you can kind of stroll at your leisure and watch watch the people going by, stop and get drinks and just kind of take your time and enjoy it. It's absolutely a nice thing to do, to just sort of be able to stroll through there and see all the different things there are to see. Any other like in-park locations that you guys like as like sort of romantic spots to spend time together?
Stephen Crawford in the chat mentioned Tom Sawyer Island, which I would say you can have, go exploring those caves and have a nice romantic time. A little hidden away from everybody else.
Those caves gave me nightmares as a kid. Like my mom should have never taken me in them.
What?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I was terrified, and I was afraid to go back to Disney World because I thought I was going to have to be subjected to the caves.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I know we talked about Pandora at night is another, like it's just so beautiful
that's
there.
A good one.
Just walking
there are
through,
kind of there are little tucked away spots in there too that you can kind of just duck out of the general flow of people and spend time. Not necessarily in parks, but resorts. I think there are a lot of good options. One of my favorites is the Boardwalk. One of our, just the lights and sort of, you've got some bars there, there's people, there's activity, but there's also, you can easily kind of like get away from that and just enjoy the stroll and the lights.
Yeah, even the beach at Yacht and Beach Club at night is so peaceful, and they have the benches, the swinging benches, and they'll even have lounge chairs out there. So putting your feet in the sand and seeing the friendship boats go by and the boardwalk lit up, it's really nice.
We're seeing all of the animals at Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Yes, that's another awesome one. They've got like the fire outside sometimes, and you can just kind of sit and enjoy that.
Yeah, I think really anywhere where you can find to have like a quiet moment in the park. And I will say it's something that I think Disneyland in a weird way kind of does better than Walt Disney World, even though it's weird because at times there seems to be more people, but I think it was just the way it was designed. Even if there is a lot of people around, especially at night in Fantasyland, I feel like theirs is laid out better than ours because it can still feel intimate, and even if there is a lot of people around. Maybe that's just me, but like especially over in like the little mini Alice area between like Alice and the teacups and all the little lanterns and everything, they just have a lot of really cool spots like that. And I think anywhere that you can find, like y'all said, the beaches or the Poly Beach, anywhere that you can find that's quiet is a good spot, or at least feels quiet.
Yep.
I've never been to Victoria and Albert's, but it seems like it would be a nice spot.
It does. That is a bucket list thing that I would like to do one day, is check out Victoria and Albert's. I've never been.
Or the grand one that I want to go on.
Yeah.
So if you know,
What's
the
that?
yacht.
The what?
Oh,
It's the yacht. It's called the
I always
grand
forget
one, I
about
believe.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to do one of those like fireworks cruises. I feel like that would
Yeah.
be a nice romantic date, even though there's probably a ton of kids around.
Yeah, so you can either do, this was one of the things I was looking up when we were talking about doing this as an option for the show. There's that new fairy tale fireworks cruise, which I think is like $100 a person, and it leaves from the TTC. It's out in Seven Seas Lagoon, and so you actually get like it's a dessert party on board like a ferry boat, but there are a whole bunch of other people there. Or I think it's $400. You can charter a private boat that will either do Seven Seas Lagoon for the Magic Kingdom fireworks, or you can do it from like Yacht and Beach Club and do Harmonious. And so like it's actually, you know, if you're going with a group of people, it's actually a really not a bad deal, I think, to do. Granted, you don't get like the dessert part of the dessert cruise, but you get your own private boat out on the water to watch the fireworks. And I would love to do that sometime. I think that would be a great, even if you get like a few couples together trying to do it, I think that would be a great sort of romantic.
Let me know when you do it. I'm in.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
We'll plan it. Next time you're down, Ashley, we can all go out and do it together.
We'll have a belated Galentine's. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds fantastic. Yeah. Well, then that's a whole other show of fun things to do with your girlfriends at Disney World.
Yes.
Maybe that's a future topic. Yeah. Although I feel like we've covered a lot of those things. We'll just spend half an hour talking about jelly rolls, I think, is how that would go.
We could also talk
Probably.
about places that are definitely not good date spots.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, so there's like, have you ever tried to do a date in Disney or like have like romantic time with your partner that like went horribly awry because, you know, there are things about Disney that are sometimes not really super romantic?
So not with my husband, but like when I was younger, my dad booked us dinner at Whispering Canyon because he thought, oh, that sounds like a nice little restaurant away from.
There's nothing whispering about Whispering Canyon.
Yeah. Well, I don't recommend that for a date night.
Shout out to Stephen Crawford again, another super chat. Just remember there are cameras everywhere now. Your quote unquote private moment might lead to consequences. That is very true.
That is very true.
Very true. Tony says, we did the pirate experience on Seven Seas with my kids years ago. Not romantic, but seeing really special seeing the fireworks from the boat. So that would be, I think that's a thing I would love to try sometime.
Yeah.
Any other sort of bad date spots in Disney or things that have terribly gone awry?
I don't think so.
House of Blues.
I'll say sometimes
Blues,
drinking
nice.
around the world.
Yeah.
Drinking around the world has to be a bad one.
It sounds like a good date idea, but at the end of it, maybe not the best idea.
The other thing that's not a good idea to do at the end of it is ride Mission Space.
Yeah, also not a good idea. After
Dennis says, anywhere can be romantic, but you have to be able to at least stroll 2 by 2 in order to hold hands. Very true. The walk around to Grand Floridian, from Poly to Grand Floridian is romantic at night. That is very true. That's actually a really nice walk. Also, now that the walkway from the park to the Grand Flow is open, there's actually a really nice like date opportunity, I think, is you go to the park for a little while, ride a couple rides, walk back from the park to Grand Floridian, and then go have a drink at Enchanted Rose. I think that's like an awesome evening out together, that you have sort of like the fun in the park, but then also sort of that romantic time of, because the Poly Walkway or the Grand Floridian Walkway is usually pretty sparse, except like at the very end of the night when everybody's leaving the park.
Yeah.
Oh,
one that I thought of that. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say one that I thought not a good date spot that you would think. Be Our Guest. Just anybody out there. Yeah. I'm sure everybody here knows. But if you happen to be watching this and have never been, i.e. some of my friends that have recently become Disney fans, Be Our Guest, you would think, because it's Beauty and the Beast. No. Mm-hmm. It's not. Not even at dinner is it going to be romantic.
Mm-hmm.
I will always tell people, I was actually just having this conversation with a friend of mine at work who wants to bring his 2 daughters down, and they're, in the like 6 to 10 range. And he was talking about doing Be Our Guest. And I was like, look, I am going to tell you, like, if you want to carry, unless your daughters are specifically huge Beauty and the Beast fans, and not even really Belle, like, I don't really think you get a lot of Belle at Be Our Guest. Unless you love the Beast, like, I would not take kids there. I know it's supposedly a character experience, but especially now post-COVID, you barely get any of that. Like, the castle is really cool, but it's so expensive. Like, I feel like it's such an expensive meal that, like, what you get out of it. I was like, I will recommend you 5 other character meals that I think are way more fun and engaging than Be Our Guest. I just feel like
if you do lunch, it's not so bad because then it's quick service.
Yeah,
I was gonna say,
still not romantic.
If you absolutely I told my girlfriend the same thing. I was like, if you positively absolutely have to see the castle because you just need to see it, go for lunch. Don't pay dinner prices just to see the castle or to see Beast. I guess from a distance now is he? I'm assuming he's back. He's socially distanced,
passes
right?
By.
Yeah,
he waves from a distance.
He like passes by, and he doesn't pass by every table. Like, he just kind of like, especially if you're in the big dining room, there are so many tables. Like, I one time got put like kind of all the way in the corner, and like he was 100 feet away from us. Like, he never got any closer than that.
Same. Well, and I feel like at one point that he was also kind of like almost in, like, you could go get a picture with him. This was a couple years ago, like over where they have all the kiosks for quick service during the day. Like, if you wanted to go meet him at the end, you could go get a picture with him at the end. It's like, it's not even worth it.
That's
the same experience we had at Cinderella Castle a couple weeks ago where, we got to go up in the castle and Cinderella was there, but she didn't, come to every table and pose for pictures and all that. She just kind of walked by and waved. But I will say that Cinderella table, at least you have the fireworks view. So even though you're in the castle, they do shoot off other fireworks that you can still see from inside of Cinderella Castle.
Here's what I will say. So I did Royal Table for the first time last year. I'd never done it before, and I never really wanted to. I didn't really have a whole lot of like, it didn't seem like it was for me. I'm not a princess, like a huge princess person. But we went, and I actually thought it was a really great experience. I thought the food was really good. I love, like, the restaurant is gorgeous. And I mean, that alone, like the difference in sort of the environment. Like, yes, there's some really cool stuff in Be Our Guest, but it's so big that I think it kind of loses a lot of that. Whereas Royal Table is much smaller, and so you feel more like you are really in a castle. And it's just like, when I was at Be Our Guest last, like, it felt like I was sitting at a cafeteria table. Like, it was just like,
I was just about to say that.
Tablecloth. Yeah. Whereas I think Royal Table feels like has the atmosphere of a much nicer restaurant. And so you're paying pretty much, I think, the same price for it, but I think you're getting such a better atmosphere. You've got the cast member wait staff is much more into being like, we are, I am the server in the castle kind of thing. And like, I think just the cast members interact with you a lot more because they're not trying to wait on 100 tables at the same time. So if that was a choice you were going to make between Be Our Guest and Royal Table, I would absolutely say go to Royal Table every time.
I also liked the dessert I got at Royal Table way better than what I got at Be Our Guest. I'm so sorry, but I don't like the gray stuff. I didn't think it was good. It just
Ah,
tasted like Cool Whip
No,
to me. I'm sorry.
totally
It's
agree.
Unpopular opinion.
okay.
Totally
it's
agree.
all right.
It's
Yeah.
neat, like the first time you get it, but after that, yeah, no, it's nothing special. It's nothing that's a must-have.
Another shout out to Stephen Crawford. This is a hilarious comment. Sneak over to Discovery Island. It took 4 SWAT teams to find a homeless man who lived there for months in 2020. Yes,
Oh my
if you don't know what Discovery Island is, it's the island in the middle of it's in Bay Lake, right? It's
Seven,
not in Seven.
yeah, Bay
Or no,
Lake.
it's in
Yeah.
Seven Seas.
Bay Lake.
It's in Bay Lake.
No,
Yeah.
Bay Lake.
It was a like an aviary, like a bird sanctuary, where you could take a boat over and tour through this island and see all the birds. And then, kind of, I think probably around the same time as they shut down River Country, they shut down Discovery Island. And it's kind of one of those,
Well,
I don't
and
know.
Animal Kingdom too kind of killed it because they moved most of the
Yeah.
animals that were on
Yeah.
Discovery Island over to Animal Kingdom.
Yeah. But definitely, if you want some obscure Disney sort of urban exploring lore, go look up Discovery Island and watch some of the videos of like people like sneaking in and like videotaping what Discovery Island looks like now, because it's like all the buildings and stuff are still there, but they're all run down. It's interesting for sure.
Does the shoe tree still exist? Does anyone know what this is? A boat driver took us past it one night near Discovery Island. When we were going from like the Lodge, Wilderness Lodge, to Magic Kingdom, and he drove by, and it was this tree all full of like white New Balance sneakers that I think are the sneakers that the boat drivers wear.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And he shined his light on it, and it was the only time I saw it, and it's this Disney mystery to this day, but it happened. Anyway, it has nothing to do with Valentine's or romantic experiences.
I know, right? I'm gonna have to look that up though. I had no idea.
Definitely.
That's totally news to me. All right, so other romantic spots. I think the other things that we haven't talked about yet are the monorail and the Skyliner. Thoughts?
Yeah.
I like them if the kids aren't around.
I like the monorail. I love the monorail. I don't know if I would qualify the monorail as romantic.
If you have your own car between Magic Kingdom and Epcot, it sure can be.
It can be, like, if you get lucky. But 9 times out of 10, especially like at
Interesting
night.
choice of words, Ashley.
Innuendo.
But like, especially at night when they pack you in there like sardines, like that would be the time that you think it would be romantic. And it's not, because you're usually in there with 15,000 other people all trying to get back, and everybody's, annoyed and tired, and there are interesting smells, not in a good way. I would honestly think that the gondolas are probably more romantic, because you probably have a better chance of being alone.
So I would say,
frightening.
Yeah, I would say that you have a better chance of getting into a gondola alone as opposed to getting an entire monorail car to yourself is pretty rare. Although the Epcot line is definitely far less traveled than I think the Magic Kingdom line, if that's what you're going for. Doug says calling the monorail romantic would be akin to calling a public bus a romantic spot. If you're crammed in there with other people, 100%. But Stephen Crawford, another super chat, thank you. He says, yes, the shoes are from retired captains. So that's very interesting. I'm going to have to look that up.
Yeah.
Somebody else in the chat said that the gondolas aren't private. They cram you in. And they do. But if you're going kind of, I think, middle of the day, when obviously you're not going to get a gondola by yourself. Although, like right after COVID, they were only putting in one party per gondola. But these days, I think.
Yeah. Maybe I haven't been in lately because I've never had to be in a gondola with other people before, other than, my husband and my kids, or just my husband, depending on the day. I don't know if it's because of COVID, or maybe it's just because we had the double stroller and it's hard to fit in more people. But I've never been with other people in a gondola before.
I don't think they pack you in too much, but if there's just two of you, they might put another party in.
We were a family of, how many were we? 5 or 6, and they put a single person with us, and my mom didn't realize, and she started to talk to this person as if she were one of our family members, and she realized this is a complete stranger in the sky.
Whoops.
We ended up learning her whole life story. But that's the awkward thing about the Skyliner, right? Is you are trying to have a romantic moment or just trying to enjoy the ride, and it's just dead silence, and you're looking at someone stranger directly in front of you, and there's no music or anything. Awkward.
The other thing I will say about the gondola, though, if you're in the gondola by yourself, so just a thing to keep in mind is that, it's a two-way line, right? So one gondola is going while the other is coming, and the people, the windows are generally tinted, but the people passing you and the other gondola can see into your gondola. So
you can hear people too.
Yeah, just a thing to keep in mind if that is your penchant. But yeah, I definitely think all of it, the monorail and the Skyliner. If you pick the right time of day when a lot of people aren't coming and going to the parks, then you have a lot better chance to get a car by yourself if that's a thing you want to do. That's definitely the time to do it. So last thing on our list of topics for the night for Valentine's Day at Disney, what do you wish Disney had to make for more romantic spots? If there's one thing you wish Disney had that would be great for a date or, a quiet night with your husband, what would it be?
I think more adult areas or more adult pool areas in particular, the quiet pools at the deluxe resorts, even though they tend to be more adult, sometimes they're boring. They're just like any other pool. So actually just last weekend I stayed at the Dolphin for the first time, and it was interesting. That big pool was number one beautiful, and there was a lot more adults there, and it made me feel like a totally different experience. So if they had more nicer pool areas that were exclusive to adults, I think that would be great.
Yeah, especially the resorts that have several pools, if they could designate one of them, or even a time of night where it's after 6 p.m. it's adults only time at this pool. I think that would be really cool.
So that if you're staying on property, for example, if you were staying at the Polynesian, you could drop your kids off at Lilo's Playhouse or whatever it's called. I wish they had the option just to drop off my kids for a couple hours, even if I wasn't staying on property. And yeah, I would pay a fee or something. Kind of similar to when you're on a cruise ship. If I wanted to drop my kids off at the kids club and go have a romantic dinner with my husband, I wish that was an option for the parks too.
That would be nice.
Because my kids are very young and my parents aren't as willing to watch them without me there because they're a lot right now. So maybe in a few years, maybe in a few years I can leave them with my parents more often.
It's interesting that a place like Disney that obviously draws so many people with kids, there aren't more options. I could even see third party babysitting services that will come to you can call a nanny to come watch your kids in your hotel room while you go out for dinner or something. I'm actually surprised there's not a lot.
I think they used to do that.
Pre-COVID, they used to have a babysitting service almost.
Maybe they still do.
At Aulani, they had one where they would come into your room and watch the kids, but it was crazy expensive, so we didn't do that.
I was going to say,
yeah. Never got to experience the adults only sections of Aulani, and I'm very upset about that.
Oh.
I honestly just wish that they would go back to the parks being open later, because I feel like that kind of defaulted to the parks being almost like adult only, or like the kids were thinned out so much so that you didn't really notice them. That's probably somewhat terrible to say, but like even when they would stay open till like 11 or midnight, it was great because, again, you could walk around. It was quieter. You could enjoy doing rides, even like the, quote unquote kiddie rides you could enjoy doing without a bunch of screaming children. And just that I wish they would go back to. I miss like 3:00 in the morning Magic Kingdom.
Yeah. I would even take midnight at this point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that picture I had in the last episode where I was like sitting on Main Street with nobody else around, the park had closed at 10 p.m. that day, and that was maybe I was there till 11.
Yeah, there's actually a little trick for you. Book a dinner reservation like as late as you possibly can in the parks, so that by the time you get out of dinner, and you can do this at, any of the Epcot or any of the parks really, so that the park is closed by the time you get out of dinner. They don't really want you to kind of lollygag around the parks. They're going to kind of shoo you towards the exit, but at least you have a little bit of time and sort of that nice little moment where you're practically alone in the park and it's dark out and all the lights are on, and it's really nice.
And they still had the Kiss Goodnight going that late at night too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see some more of that come back.
Are they still? They're not still doing Kiss Goodnight, are they? Or has it come back?
I haven't been there late enough.
Yeah, recently. I think they're still doing it. I think they're still doing it. But I don't usually close the parks anymore. All right. I think that'll wrap it up. I honestly, like, for my wish list, I don't know that I have a lot of wish list. I actually think, like, the thing that makes Disney a good date place or not is if you're with somebody who's a Disney person. I think that's what makes a huge difference. That, like, you will be able to find things to do that you will both appreciate, whether it's, the restaurants or the lounges or the Skyliner. I think as long as you've got somebody that's kind of into it the way you are, that makes it for, you have that special moment to share, even if it's not the most romantic, because it's hard for Disney to be like super romantic. But I certainly hope all of our audience out there uses or finds a good Disney date moment for themselves, because I know you're all Disney fans out there, and being able to share that with somebody is really special. All right. Well, with that, I think we're going to wrap up our Disney date show. Happy Valentine's Day again to everyone. You will find us back here in 2 weeks again, every other Monday on the Unplanned Downtime channel. And our next two shows, actually, since we are on the cusp of March, we are going to do our own March Madness. So we've got... We're going to do a March Madness where we're focusing on female Disney characters. More to come. I think we'll see if we can put a bracket out there for you guys to play along with us when we do the show. But I think that'll be fun. Stay tuned. As we were talking about earlier, who knows what the arguments will be. Will it be because this character is featured in an attraction in Epcot? Not sure how we'll work in the how many cash registers argument.
How many registers? Yeah.
How many registers are in her gift shop?
If you are a fan of the WDWNT variety of March Madness that we do every year, I think tune in and you'll have a good time along with us having that argument. It's always fun and interesting. All right. So with that, we will say good night. I want to thank everyone again, my co-host Ashley, Desi, Shannon. Thank you, ladies, all for joining me tonight to talk about our favorite Disney date spots. And as always, we will see you back in a couple weeks. Until then, have a great night, and thanks for watching.
Night.
Bye.
Bye.